Christ is risen. It is Tuesday, so it's time for another short video from the Isle of Mull, from our small monastery. Thank you everyone for all your encouragement and the wonderful messages you've left and the comments you've left. Thank you everyone for the help you've sent us. And I'll begin just with that. Please continue to support us, either by a very small donation, they all count, or by getting yourselves one of our lovely Isle of Mull prayer ropes made of natural black sheep wool and little shells which we collect from the shores, and then we turn them into these prayer ropes meant to be used during your Jesus prayer or the prayer of the heart practice. That being said, thank you again. Don't forget to share, don't forget to subscribe, and most importantly, don't forget to send us your questions, because without your questions there really is no purpose to continuing all of this. It comes from a question also, what we shall talk about this Tuesday. It's a question that I've seen in many forms in various emails and messages, and particularly the comment areas, where people say that we are tired of all this waiting. We struggle with waiting. There's a sense that somehow our life has been on hold. Everything has been stopped, everything is on hold, and we more or less pretend that we are alive while we are waiting for real life to begin once again. But life doesn't happen now. Nothing really happens now. We are just frozen in this big refrigerator that we call the world, waiting for something outside to go away so we can crawl outside our big fridge to start living again. And I can understand that, but I can also see the great danger in that, because this is our life, this is our time. Every time you feel, oh, I wish this hour would be over, or I wish this day or this month would be over, what we are actually saying is, I wish that a part of my life would be over. A part of my life which I could at least potentially use in a very positive way for my salvation, for the salvation of other people, and dedicating that time to making this world a better place for everyone. So the question really is, how do you take this empty waiting and turn it into something positive, something that is not passive but an active spiritual deed? What makes this process of waiting even more significant, and why I think we do need to pay attention to this, is that our own lives are described and understood by the Church really as a long process of waiting. So if we misunderstand the essence of this waiting, we risk to misunderstand our own lives. There's that little tiny word in the Creed, at the very end of the Creed, the symbol of our faith, I await for the resurrection of the dead and the age to come, that defines our life. Everything else, the entire knowledge, the dogmatic knowledge that is contained in the symbol of faith, everything else is about God and is knowledge revealed about God. Our lives here on this earth is defined through this tiny word, I await. So there is a significance to this process of waiting, and I want to try to give you something that I've actually learned on the Holy Mountain. Waiting came in a conversation about prayer that felt very much dead and like not progressing, not feeding me in any way. Prayer that was infected spiritually with impatience. And there was a very simple answer that solved that for me. And it solved it in the long run by the grace of God. And I hope it does the same for you. I met this father who explained to me very briefly that prayer is nothing else except waiting. We put aside this time so that we wait for Christ. What do I want to say by that is that, for instance, when you read your prayers and you don't feel that your heart is into it because you cannot bring your heart into it, when you read your prayers and they feel dry and superficial and difficult to progress with, then if you understand the time that you invest in that prayer as a process of just waiting for Christ, then your prayer is redeemed and you can continue to pray. If, for instance, you struggle to learn the Jesus prayer and the prayer doesn't feel alive and hours go one after the other and nothing seems to catch fire in your heart, that is all right, as long as you understand your prayer as a process of, again, just waiting for Christ. You put aside this time when you just sit in your prayer corner, you kneel or you stand or you walk, whatever works best for you personally, and you just wait. You wait for the resurrection of the dead and the life of the age to come. Amen. You can do that at night as well. All you have to do is get yourself awake and keep yourself awake. You may pray, you may wait in silence, you may do whatever keeps you awake, as long as in your mind, as long as in your heart, you are aware that you are just waiting for Christ, then that prayer will be filled with grace. Don't forget that waiting patiently for the Lord, as the psalmist says, that process of patiently waiting will feed your character, and that your character will feed your hope. I think St. James says that. And once your heart is filled with hope, then the love of God will be poured into your heart. And that is all we can hope for in prayer. Everyone waited. Everyone had to patiently wait. Think of the apostles waiting, not knowing what happened with Christ after his crucifixion. Unlike them, we know who we are indeed waiting for. We know that the one who was crucified is also the one who will be resurrected, Christ our Lord and our God. And unlike them, we also know what we are waiting for. We are waiting for the resurrection of the dead. We keep singing Christ is risen through this season. Christ is risen from the dead. Well, I am the dead. And you are the dead, and all of us are the dead spiritually. We are not yet alive in the real life, the life of the kingdom. While we are still here in this body, we are the dead. And when we say Christ is risen from the dead, we mean that he's risen from us, from me, and from you. We know whom we are waiting for, and we know what we are waiting for. And Christ will come, and the resurrection will happen in me. We are never alone in this waiting. The apostles were waiting. Those in hell were waiting for Christ to descend and to bring to them the good news of the resurrection as well. Nature itself, the created nature around us, is eagerly waiting as well. We can wait together. We can pray together. And this process of waiting doesn't have to be waste, doesn't have to be a process of killing time. Because what we are killing is our lives. The time we want to get past, the time we want to fast forward is our life. And that is such a pity and such a sin. Because we have this great gift of being able to still breathing in and breathing out. And this is life itself. It doesn't have to happen 100 kilometers an hour in order for this to be life. Slow down to the point of being still. Be still and know that I am God. That's what God encourages us to do. This kind of waiting, where waiting for the Lord becomes your prayer, where being aware that you are just waiting for Him to come, the way those 10 virgins were waiting for the bridegroom to arrive. This waiting is a blessed gift, is a blessed way of living our lives. Let's try that. Let's do that rather than be saddened and dispirited and despondent about the fact that life is somewhere else, sometime in the future, but not here, not now. Wherever you are, if you just close your eyes and in your heart you wait for the Lord, then you are working the prayer that will open your heart to hope, that hope that will open your heart for the Lord to pour His love in you. May God bless you and everyone, everywhere, who lived before us or who will live after us. Christ is risen, dear ones. Amen.